Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us in Aavenir Live, where we create and share customer-focused product content. Today, we are going to touch base on Contractflow product and what are the different ways to initiate a contract. We are recording this session so that you can watch it later and also share it with your colleagues. Also, we will be taking up the Q&A at the end of the session, and feel free to use the Zoom chat or the Q&A box to ask any of the questions or queries you have while we are giving the product demonstration. I'll now quickly hand it over to Brunmay to share the webinar agenda, followed by Vikram, who will guide us and share the different ways to initiate contracts using Contractflow. Brunmay, over to you.
Thank you, Maddie. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second part of the Aavenir Live Customer Specific series. Thank you all for joining, taking out this time to learn the various nitty-gritties of our product. This webinar is specifically designed for our Contractflow customers so that they can get the maximum value out of it. As part of our agenda, what we want to cover today is how to quickly initiate the contracts. There are various ways, and that is what is going to be covered in terms of creating a contract using own template, uploading a third-party contract that you may have received, or creating a contract against a request received from someone in the organization. So with that, I pass it on to our product expert, Vikram. Over to you, Vikram.
All right, thank you very much, Brunmay and Maddie. Good morning to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today on this Aavenir Live webinar. And I'm really happy and encouraged to see the participation, so thank you again for that. And before I move ahead, Maddie, request if you can please let me share my screen.
Yeah, you can.
All right, thank you. So I have just brought up my Aavenir Contractflow homepage or the landing page. You should be able to see it now on your screen. And so as Brunmay and Maddie have explained, the objective of these webinars is really to keep it short and simple. We want to keep it as easy as possible for you to understand what we're talking about here. And so the information that we're sharing is really bite-sized information that's going to be useful for you in your day-to-day work. And so that's the whole objective of having these very short, I'd say micro short webinars. So I'm going to show you today a couple of different ways how you can, initiate a contract depending upon the kind of, implementation you have. So looking at the participation, I know each one of you and the kind of implementation that we've done for your organization. So I'm going to, make sure that I essentially call out that, what kind of implementation does this specific thing that I'm showing applies to, okay, so that it helps you in the best possible way. So to begin with, there are many ways how you can initiate a contract in Aavenir. So when you log into Aavenir, by now you all would be knowing that this is what your landing page generally looks like. You may have slightly different graphs and charts, but that's fine. But essentially, you would be landing on a contract manager dashboard, and your specific implementation will show you the kind of graphs that we have set up for you. Now, for those of you who are using this solution to generate contracts on your own template, like as in you want to negotiate a contract with a supplier or a vendor or a reseller, and you want to initiate that contract on your own template and begin that process of drafting and redlining, the easiest way for you to initiate that contract is by hitting the quick contract button. And I can see some of y'all in your organizations, we have given you this specific kind of implementation. So when you hit quick contract, it's a very simple pop-up window that opens up where you select the name of the vendor. Say, for example, Laser, choose a contract type, say master service agreement, for example, and you can pick a template here. I'm going to pick MSME in English, hit proceed, and pretty much, with just that basic bit of information that you have supplied, you would land up on the drafting page. So again, this is very specific to those who are using our solution for the end-to-end drafting. But then there are also some of you who are using this more as a repository, so I'll come to that as well. So yeah, if you want to now draft this contract here, so you can see the contract template on the right-hand side, and there's metadata information here on the left. So you can just type in some information, the type of service, for example, software migration service contract. Okay, that's just an example. Let's say the contract begins on the 29th, and so you see that placeholder being filled out with the date. Let's say 1.5% uplift value, payment term of net 30, and you can provide additional information. All of this depends upon your specific kind of implementation. So I'm not really going to go through all of this because this is going to be, the metadata is going to be different for each one of you. Essentially, once you have filled out your metadata, just hit save, and that initiates, and that essentially creates a contract for you, a draft contract using your own organization's template. So obviously, when you have your own organization's template, as opposed to the external party initiating the contract on their own paper, so you have a lot more control and governance over what goes inside that contract, the terms and conditions. So as you can see, this contract is now a draft contract. All you need to do at this point is hit this button, generate document, and it would actually generate the docx file or the Word file, which is the actual contract that you're used to working with, right? So that's the contract. That docx file is what you're going to send out to the resellers, to your vendors, to your suppliers, so that they can review it, and probably they're going to send it back to you with a whole bunch of red lines. So there you go. If you scroll down here, you would see under contract attachments, there's this hamburger icon. So you can click on that, and you will actually see the first version 1.0 of the docx file, which is the actual contract. Now to send this out to a supplier, all you do is hit actions and click send for external review, and pretty much that's all you would do. So this was for those of you who are, who use your own organization templates to initiate a contract on which further review and redline can happen. Now, as I had said before in my earlier webinar, anytime you click on the brand name or the logo here, you'll always go back to the landing page. That's a nice, neat little trick that you should just keep in mind. So from anywhere in the system, you want to come back to the homepage or the landing page, simply click the Contractflow brand name or the logo, and you'll be back on the landing page. Now, some of you are, using the system for contracts that are initiated on papers from suppliers or resellers or essentially partners, right? So they're not on your own templates, or some of you may be doing a combination of both. So if you have received a contract from an external party, how do you initiate that contract in Aavenir? It's fairly simple. All you do is hit upload contract. When you hit upload contract, you can choose the file that has been sent over to you by the external party. In this case, I'm going to choose this contract, a demo contract, and hit proceed. Also, I can see that some of you, are using our artificial intelligence engine as well. So those of you who are, you would see that the artificial intelligence engine actually runs through this contract as it's being uploaded and identifies some information. But for those who are not using artificial intelligence, that's fine. I mean, you can just go ahead and fill out that information manually. So here we can see artificial intelligence has picked out the vendor, some payment information, start date, jurisdiction, governing law, state, and so on. Some reason it missed out the contract type, but yeah, that's fine. I can just go ahead and update that, hit create contract, and pretty much that's all that's there as far as initiating a contract on third-party paper is concerned. So it's just in case of your own paper, you just choose a template, whereas in case of a third-party paper, you just browse a file and simply upload it. Pretty much that's it, and then you can drive the exact same workflow as in the case of an own template contract. So the workflow, the approvals, the signatures, amendment renewals, all of that remains the same, whether it's a contract which is on your own template or whether it's a contract which is initiated on a third-party paper template. Okay. So there you go. So now you see that this contract is also now a draft contract. And at this point, because it was initiated on third-party paper, you can hit actions and send this for internal review, because obviously in a third-party paper, you've just received it, you want to send it for internal review, right? In case of your own template, you draft a template and you want to send it for external review. So that's the, just a process kind of difference. Just wanted to touch upon that. Okay, once again, going back to the landing page. Now, many of you I see here are also using our solution primarily as a contract repository. So what you're doing is you're negotiating the contracts, you're creating the contract, drafting it, and negotiating it outside of the system. And now you want to just put it into the system, in which case you just simply use the store contract option. So you click store contract, you specify what's the name of the vendor, choose a contract type. If let's say this was a master services agreement, you don't need to essentially you could choose a template. You can actually leave that blank. I'll just pick that up right now, hit proceed. And all you need to do is fill out the fields that have been set up for you. It's just, you just need to go ahead in each of those fields and fill out the information. Once you've done that, you hit save. And that's pretty much it. Let's actually do this. Let's say that this contract starts on the 29th and I hit save. So this creates your contract record. Now, all that you need to do, because you're using this as a repository, is simply attach that file, that contract file, to this contract record. And the way you would do that is, yeah, I'll just show it to you. Just let this, come up on the screen. So all that you would need to do is go down to the contract attachments, click new. And here's how you can choose a file to simply attach. So let's take this contract as an example, and I'll just click save. And that would essentially upload this contract document into the Aavenir contract repository. So pretty much that's all you would do if you're using our solution primarily as a contract repository. So essentially what that means is you are drafting and negotiating your contracts externally as an outside of the system. And once it's agreed upon and signed, you just want to come over here, create this contract record, attach the contract document here. As you can see, there's an attachment record, and pretty much that's it, you're good to go. Once again, going back to the landing page, there's just one last thing that I'm going to cover now, and that would be essentially all that we have for today's session. Some of you use the contract, essentially, you receive a contract request from somebody in the organization. That could be anyone from any person, like someone who's a buyer, and they request for a contract, and then you want to create a contract in response to that request. So for those of you who are doing that, you would see the request menu up here in the sidebar. So when you click contract request, you would be able to see all the requests that have been submitted by people in your organization. And let me just find the request. So here's a so here's a request which is still in the requested status, which means I've not done anything about it as yet. So let's take a look at this request. Simply clicking on the request number takes me inside the request. So I can see that this is a contract request for a vendor, Repute Infosystems, which is going to start on this date. And the request is for a master services agreement. So all I would do in this case is click actions, click create contract. And so essentially, in this case, as you can see, what happens is the vendor name gets pre-filled here. The contract type also gets pre-filled here. All I need to do is select the template and hit proceed. And so in this case, what's going to happen is that the contract that is going to be created will be tied to the request, so that even the person who has submitted this request knows exactly what's happening on the contract and knows what's the status of the contract, right? So pretty much that's what, back on the same contract workspace screen, click save. And yep, that's pretty much it. So with this, what happens is the person who submit request will no longer need to send you an email or call you just to know the status of what's happening on the contract, right? So really easy ways, different ways to work with our solution, different ways to create and initiate contracts. That's pretty much all that I had for today's agenda. I wanted to keep it short and simple, and I hope this was helpful to you. With that, thank you very much. I'll hand it back over to Maddie or Brunmai.
So thank you, Vikram. Thank you for showcasing the three ways in terms of how we can quickly draft a contract, we can upload our own contracts, and also how we can use the ready-made templates available in the Contractflow product. So before we end the session, there is a quick poll, and this is just to gather the intelligence and insights in terms of the webinars which we are doing, are they helpful or not? So I'm just quickly launching the poll and would request you to please take out a few seconds and do let us know in terms of what's your overall feedback. And also we have shared which are the three ways you can do the initiate a contract. Okay, I'll just give it a couple of seconds. Okay, thank you. Thank you for taking the poll. And for the next session for the contract flow product, we are going to discuss on how to manage compliance through the inbuilt processes which are available in contract flow. So stay tuned for the email. We will be sending out the email in a couple of weeks. And also Brunmai will be sending out the webinar recording so that you can touch base again and relook and also share it with your team. So with that, I would like to thank you again for taking your time out. And thanks to Vikram and Brunmai for sharing their insight. And I hope Aavenir Live is helping you and expanding our product knowledge. So thank you, and let's keep in touch. Thank you, Vikram. Thank you, Bruno. Bye.